What's up? It's Joe. Welcome to my 5-Minute Friday for October 6th. What's been on my mind this week? Well, skills, upskilling, skills to pay the bills, and so on. And I think, again, skills and knowledge, it's one of the most underrated areas where I feel like as an industry we can make the most improvement. And, I was ranting about this yesterday on the Dolly Brothers show, the Super Data Bros show. Shout out to those guys. Always a great time being on there. But, the show is about, my rant that I keep giving, which is there's a lot of tools and we have no idea how to use them. Very, very seldom do I see people take the time to actually read through documentation, for example, and actually understand how a tool should be used, right? I think Snowflake's a good example of this. People always complain about the costs of Snowflake and, how it's, what should be an easy to use tool is sometimes hard for people to use. But when I dig under the hood, oftentimes what I see is people are trying to apply techniques that really aren't made for Snowflake, right? Like doing direct row inserts and, doing a crap ton of updates and all this stuff, right? This is not how Snowflake should be treated. And they very clearly illustrate this in their documentation. So it's not a secret. They're not hoarding this information from you. But the amount of people that I've seen actually go through the documentation to understand these practices is, I can probably count on my hands. And this is out of hundreds of people I've seen. So, it's part of it's a curse of familiarity. We just do what is comfortable to us and what's familiar, and don't take time to really understand what it is that we're using, right? And so how does this relate to skills? Well, if you're a professional in this industry, which if you're listening to this, you're either getting started in your career or you're, obviously working in the field, but it's a very weird podcast to listen to if you aren't working in the field of data, but welcome if you are. But yeah, skills is an interesting thing. So maybe tell you how I approach skills, right? And learning new things and maintaining the skills I have. And so the way I look at the world is in two buckets. I look at the fundamental skills I need, that maybe underpin the practices I, do as a professional. And I'll get into what those are in a bit. And then it's the application of, those principles to understanding the technologies and tools that I'm using to do my job, right? So maybe it's a 50-50 split, maybe it's 60-40 split, maybe it's a 70-30 split, but that the majority of your time should be spent learning fundamentals. The majority of your time until you've mastered them should be spent understanding the big ideas in your field and how they apply to what you're doing. So what are some of the big ideas, right? So I'm gonna give you an example. If you work as an analyst or a data scientist, I think that having a very thorough understanding of statistics and, other mathematical approaches like linear algebra, probability, and so forth, and this is mandatory. I don't think that you can call yourself a really good analyst or data scientist if you skip over this stuff, right? If you're a data engineer, yeah, you should definitely understand how different types of storage formats work, column, row-based, so forth, and understand, how distributed systems work. And other things that are outlined in Matt and I's book, Fundamentals of Data Engineering. We approached that book very much from first principles. We didn't attach it to any particular technology, and that was very much by design. Technologies come and go. The fundamental principles at least should be, I wouldn't say immutable, but at least resistant and somewhat immune to just the whims of the industry. So that includes understanding things like storage, ingestion, data transformations, and serving data. These are all fundamental principles that I think a data engineer should know. And if you don't know them, then go read our book and learn more about it. So these are the fundamentals, right? And then once you understand the fundamentals, then you can start applying the fundamentals to understanding the tools that you're using. So once you have a good grasp of, say, data modeling and SQL and the maybe the data warehouse or the data lakehouse that you're running, say, DBT on top of, I think you're going to be much more proficient at running DBT. But if you don't have those big ideas, those big concepts of data modeling, how does SQL work? How do, OLAP systems work? How does Snowflake work? If you don't have those big ideas and try and apply, say, DBT to that, I would say that you're going to be very, very, very limited and probably make a lot of very costly mistakes. But by just taking the time to understand, again, the fundamental principles of your craft, understanding that the tools that you're using and mastering those tools, reading the documentation, and just diving deep and really mastering end to end these tools. Maybe take the certifications so you understand from the vendor's perspective how that tool should be viewed and treated. I think all these are great investments in your time. But I think right now, again, the approach that we take is just buy the technology, assume we know how to use it, and throw a bunch of data at the problem, and then away you go. And the mistakes I see from this are many, many fold, right? I would trust, a very competent person who understands the ins and outs of their craft and of the tool that they're using. I would trust them any day of the week over somebody who has maybe a more sophisticated tool who doesn't understand what the hell they're doing, right? But all too often, this is the curse of our industry right now, and it's easier to buy new technologies than it is to invest in your skills, right? So, invest in yourself. As Warren Buffett said, I remember one time at one of the shareholder meetings, somebody asked him what is the best investment in I think it was a hyperinflationary environment, right? So this is back in the great financial crisis, and the government was printing a lot of money with quantitative easing. And somebody asked Buffett, what's the best investment? And Warren had, the typical Warren answer, which is that he said, the best investment is in yourself, right? If you're the best at what you do, it doesn't really matter what happens in the economy. Like you'll be able to command whatever price you want in whatever type of currency is used at the time, right? So I think this is very much how you need to approach your skills. Technology will not help you become better at what you do. Your investment and your skills and knowledge is what's going to help you better leverage technology. Always remember this. Hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you soon. Bye.